I see the vision.
Burgundy Ballers, welcome back to another episode of the Ballin in Burgundy podcast. Yeah, myself, Chris, and Justin. Justin's back
Yeah.
on for the past month. My guy, what's happening?
What's up, guys? Glad to be back. Miss this place.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. For y'all who haven't been paying attention, it's drama season in DC. We're gonna touch on the Brandon Aiyuk situation with him finally requesting an official trade, which doesn't mean they'll actually trade him. And the big conversation going into the training camp is, do we play Jayden Daniels in the preseason? Before we get into any of that, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe here on YouTube, here on the Ballin and Burgundy podcast channel. Hit the like, subscribe button, hit that post notification bell to let you know every time that we upload. Instagram and TikTok at Ballin and Burgundy podcast, and Twitter at BIB Podcast 22. All links down in the description. Let's get into it. Yesterday, or when you guys see this on Tuesday afternoon, July 16th, San Francisco 49er, number 11, one of the best route runners and hands in the league, Brandon Aiyuk, officially requests a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. Now, as soon as that dropped, us, Rio, Josh, Commanders Access, Commanders Country, everyone was up in arms saying, you know what? Now we got a chance. But remember when Debo and Robbie Gould did this and they re-signed a few months later? Could be the same tactic. I'm going to start with Justin. How do you feel about him finally requesting the trade?
I feel like it's time. If you look back in the day, right, when Debo and all them, they had money. This time they don't have money, dude. They got a quarterback who's on a rookie deal, who our people in training camp is making more than this dude. Some of our guys, they had to resign Brock, a couple
Yep.
defensive guys. I think it's time for Ayuk to say, what happens if I get hurt on this franchise tag or this or that? If they do franchise tag him in the future or his, last year's contract, he'll never get that big money chunk. And he's worried about that. And it's time for him to move on.
Yep.
I think it's smart for him to move on from 49ers organization.
He's on the last year of his rookie deal, which was, he was a 2019 pick. So he's going on the last year. It's going to be $14 million. Now, if he holds out, it's going to be he's going to lose out $14 million, but he's only made $12 million in his entire, contractual years. Chris, what about you? How do you feel when they finally dropped the official news?
I feel good, but this is coming from Adam Schefter. What I saw on Instagram from Adam Schefter saying, I think this on NFL Live on ESPN, is that the 49ers are not willing, I think, going to trade Brandon Aiyuk, or I should say invest in trading Brandon Aiyuk. Which to me, I think it's smart for the 49ers not to, because he is an explosive playmaker for them. I think he had 1,300 yards last season. So for them, to lose him would be a step down for their offense. I think, but personally, from what I've seen, us not wanting to trade for him back at the draft, that was their time and opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
Right there. Yes, you could still do it now, but what were they willing to give up at the draft? Or what were they not willing to give up at the draft for what they're willing, that being, Washington, to give up now to get, Brandon Aiyuk? Or do you play it safe, don't trade for him, and then just sign him the next, come next offseason?
Can I say something real quick? I think a part of not trading for him during the draft is when we did that trade with Philly.
Yeah.
And gained all those day 2 picks. I think that's the reason why we didn't trade for him. Because look at the outcome. We had three guys, day day 2 picks.
Yeah.
What, two or three in the second, or it was?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So once we traded from 40 to 1553, instead of
Newton, right?
grabbing Noon was at 36, so he was one of our originals. We had 40 from Chicago. We trade back, and in that trade back we got Ben Sinnott, Mike Sandersill, and I think we picked up an extra sixth. Or no, we swapped a sixth, which I think was the Jordan McGee pick. So you trade Cooper DeJean for Sandersill and from Ben Sinnott.
God, we
Yeah.
should have. If I'm being real, we should have stayed where we were at and gotten Cooper DeJean.
Maybe, but Sandersill fits this defense, and Sinnott is going to be tight end 2, really tight end 1 now that Logan's gone. So, you get 2 starters out the deal.
I think
Yeah.
I think Sinnott will be a tight end 2. I think they're going to want to start Zach Ertz.
Oh, that's right. Thank you, Zach Ertz. Thank you. Forgot about
But
him.
yeah, I mean, that's the way I see it going right now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
No,
But
that's
if you
fair.
real quick, I mean, if you look at the outcome real quick, right? These coaches, new GM, they have a whole team to fill, more or less, other than a
Yeah,
handful of good spots that we have. At the end of the day, I'd rather take, a couple potential starters than one elite pro ball receiver. Because,
right.
I mean, we have Terry. Terry is really good. You all know. We have a rising star in Dotson. I'm not saying the receiving core doesn't need addressed. It does need addressed, but I think at the time that we did the smart move
Yeah.
and focus on the team around, not just one player.
Yep. One thing that I saw on Twitter, shout out to ML Football, later that day from his own teammate Jawan Jennings, he posts on his Instagram story, you got to be a different type of person to act like you doing everything by yourself, knowing dang well you not. Jawan got paid this offseason. He got like a 2-year deal out of it. So if his own teammates are saying, dude, why are you acting hard? Like why are you pulling a John Morant thinking you hard when you not? It kind of tells you, is he going to be a diva about it? Is he going to have a Debo-esque momentum? Because now he has a little bit of leverage with Ricky Pearsall being on their pup list going into training camp. So you never know. Going into the topic of where and when, Sports Betting AG on Twitter, and JB Finley posted this about the betting odds. Washington has the 4th best odds to get Aiuyk if they actually trade him. That's behind the Colts, the Jaguars, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we're ahead of the Chargers, the Patriots, and the Arizona Cardinals. So, I'm going to start with Chris on this one. Where and when should Brandon Aiuyk be traded if they trade him? Where and when?
I mean, if I'll say this, if Aiyuk has a no trade clause, like you can, like if you have a no trade clause, you can say no, like you don't want to be traded to that team, right? If he has that, I don't see him going to the Cardinals. I don't
He
see him
doesn't
going
have
to.
that.
I don't see him going to the Chargers, the Colts, because he even said, if I'm not wearing a Niner uniform, it's a Redskin uniform. If I'm not wearing a Redskin uniform, it's a Pittsburgh uniform. So honestly, I can see him either going to Pittsburgh or Washington. If it's Washington, got to do it here soon. If it's Pittsburgh and the Niners, just want to kind of get rid of him, then I think he goes to Pittsburgh by the deadline because let's be real, that connection, or not the connection, but the duo of either Justin Fields and Aiuyk or Wilson and Aiuyk could be dangerous, and might help Pittsburgh propel a division title. So, but I mean that's my predictions. I mean, I could be wrong. Hopefully, I am. Hopefully, he comes to Washington. So we'll see what
Mm-hmm.
happens.
Yeah. What about when? When would it be this offseason? Would it be like I mean, you said the deadline, but would that be your bet would
I
be
think
deadline?
Yeah, I think if he goes to Pittsburgh, it would be by this dead. It would be by the deadline, like what week 9 now is the deadline.
I think so.
Uh, and if it's Washington, Washington needs to jump on it here soon.
Fair.
So
Justin, what about you? When and where?
All right, so I've been doing some thinking the last couple days. Well, since the trade request,
Yep.
top destinations are one Commanders because of the Jayden Daniels connection. Two, two and three are kind of tied. They got the Cardinals, which they need more receiver help, and so
You
do the
do.
Bills. Like I mean, Niners are smart to get them out of the NFC, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they were smart. Part of me says if he goes to the Commanders, it's going to be before the season starts.
Okay.
It's something just tells me it's going to be before the season starts. If he goes to the Commanders, anywhere else, it's either going to be the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Some team's going to lose their receiver. They're going to trade huge for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's my guess.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So Bills or Commanders? I mean, Bills would need the help outside of Curtis and Keon. And then us just having Terry and if Jahan, I think Jahan would get part of the trade. I'll talk about trades here in a second. I would say if it's not the Commanders, it would be Pittsburgh. If it's us, again, the Jayden Daniels connection, having a good offense be out with Cliff Kingsbury, new ownership, so a new era. You pair him up with Terry McLaurin. You have two number ones on the team. We touched on it last episode with the Cowboys Can fan fellas. You can go watch that right up here. Actually, right, it'll be up near Chris. Um, and I think the Steelers because I think you give him a Justin Fields or a Russell Wilson. Russ more because he knows how to throw the ball, and he'd be a great number two, or he'd be the number one, and you have George Pickens across the number two. You still have a Calvin Austin, Deontay Johnson left. They got a Roman Wilson out of Michigan, but he'll probably be fourth or fifth string on their roster. If it's the Commanders, I think it will be later this offseason, maybe before the season starts or will be the trade deadline. I think if it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, it'll either be the trade deadline or it won't be till next offseason. I think Brandon might play some of this out and then he might hold out the rest. Like if he plays the first 8 games and then holds out, he's only going to be charged like $7.5 million versus his full contract year he'll be missing out on. I think it's just going to be tricky. And then for those who are saying, "Oh, you're beating your dead horse. Get over it. We're not getting him." Didn't we all say that during the draft? Oh man, Commanders aren't going to trade back. We did. Oh, we're not going to trade Sam Howell. Trade him. Oh, Chase Young and Sweat, they're not leaving until next offseason. Week 8, they were gone to Chicago and San Francisco, respectively. Right. So it's a possibility. Now let's think about trade details. I think it'll take a second and a fourth to get him off. I don't think they're going to get a first out of Brandon Aiyuk. I don't see them getting a first out of it. If they were going to get a first, they would have gotten it back in the draft. What do y'all think?
it'll be if we trade for Aiyuk, it'll be a second, fourth, and probably a player.
Fair.
It's the only way I see it.
Fair. Justin?
Excuse me. I agree with you. It's a minimum second, a fourth, or second and a third, but also a player. And I get rookies going to be on IR, right? But you have Debo still. You have
Yeah.
Jennings. A player like Brown, Denami Brown, just needs a new start. He could be a number 4 receiver for a
Yeah.
team. I think he'd be a good player to let go, or maybe a second year D tackle Mathis.
Mathis, get his ass out of here.
Get him out of here. Niners need D tackle depth.
Yeah.
or even a second and a fifth, and those two players and get them out. Both need new starts, both young, both have potential. You also
Yeah.
have to think about if you trade Dotson, what are you going to do with the receiver core of Debo, Jennings, Ricky, and Dotson? That makes no sense to make one sit the bench most of the year or
Yeah.
rotate as the third. Makes zero sense.
Mm-hmm. It's I think Gianni will probably be the trade target if I'm Dan Quinn and I'm Cliff Kingsbury, because I think he's been here a few years, hasn't really done anything. You need to make space for Oldme Zacchaeus. You need to make space for Jamison Crowder. You need to make space for Luke McCaffrey, the bloodline. Um, and I forget the football account, but they were saying you trade Luke McCaffrey to the Niners. I get it. CMC's there, family's out there, but no, we want to keep LMC. He's getting a connection with Jayden already. Let's keep building that connection. Because could you imagine Terry at the 1, Brandon at the 2, Jawan at the 3, Luke at the 4, Jameson at the 5, Olami at the 6? I feel so much better.
I would too. And here's another part of me. What happens if Commanders are so good on Dotson and McCaffrey that they don't want to trade for Aiyuk? Part of me sees that too. They want to see
Yeah.
McCaffrey and Dotson translate and play well in the league.
Hey, you put Luke in the slot, dude. Magic things can happen. I'm all here. I'm all here for it. But translating into our Commanders, big topic going into training camp: will Jayden Daniels or should Jayden Daniels play the preseason? Now, that's going to ruffle some feathers. Joe Theismann, Washington legend, Super Bowl champion, face of the franchise, said this back on the 13th with the Craig Hoffman show. Jayden Daniels isn't and shouldn't play in the preseason. I've watched him work. I've been at practice. I've sat and visited with him. I like him a lot, but our business is a tough business to learn. Why would you put your star quarterback out there to get hurt? I think he has a point that you don't want him to get injured, because if he gets injured week 2 in the preseason, now you're fucked. Not
Might as well get back. You might as well go get TH at that point.
you could attempt to get Heineke, you could attempt to get Sam Howell back, but I think he's staying in Seattle. You would have to try out Mariota or Jeff Driscoll or Sam Hartman for that season. Justin, what do you think? Should Jayden Daniels play in the preseason?
Hell yes. It's the only time the guy can sit there and get real life scenarios in the middle of a preseason game. It's not practice. It's not 7-on-7.
Right.
It's not the same 11 guys you've been playing,
Yeah.
in practice every week. You have to be smart with how he plays.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him don't take big hits, throw the ball away, But at least the first game, maybe 2 or 3 drives, hey, this is what it's like. Second game, all right, we'll let you play at least a quarter.
Yeah.
Third game, let him play till halftime. Let him get comfortable, because the more comfortable your rookie quarterback is, the better you are for that season. And that's
Yeah.
what I fear. He isn't comfortable enough.
Yeah. I think the excuse me. I think the joint practices with Miami and I think it's the Jets we have coming up this year will help, because now you've got some live fire practice rounds and then the game and the next live practice with the Dolphins, and then you play, and then week 3 against New England. I don't think it's a joint practice, but now you've got joint practices. I wouldn't have him play a full quarter or even a full half. I would do 2 or 3 drives here, 2 drives here, 3 drives here. Like, I want to see him play less than 8 drives between those 3 games. Do 2 in the first game, 2 in the second, 3 in the last. Because that gets him Let's say out of those 8 drives, two of those are touchdowns, 2 of those are field goal drives. Half that are scoring drives. You can feel good about what he could do. I don't want him being in, let's say, the first game, and he goes to slide, and a safety comes up and just, rocks him. Oh, now he's got a concussion for 6 weeks. Well, now you're screwed going into week 1 without your star player. Chris, what about you?
Uh, yeah, I think the kid should be playing in preseason. Um, Now personally, should he play a whole lot to see what he has? Yes, he should, but at the same time, no, because you're also taking the risk of getting him hurt. But you got to see what your quarterback has. Uh, like honestly, they got the joint practices with Miami and New York. So if
Mm-hmm.
anything, put in some, 2-minute drills for Jayden Daniels. Let's see what the kid does. Put him in there 2 minutes, no timeouts. See if he can take the team down the field, and if not, then you got some things to work on. But
Yeah.
if he can, yes, you still have some things to work on. But hey, that tells you what you have,
Mm-hmm.
and I know I'm not the coaches for any other team, but if I'm Dan Quinn, I'm at least hoping that he plays against first stringers, unlike Sam Howell did last year. Yes, Sam Howell did good. Yes, he threw for a lot and got a lot of completions, but he also played a lot against a lot of second stringers. I mean, look at the Baltimore game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know about the first game. I mean, the first game, the first team offense was out there till I think what midway through the second quarter
Something like that.
last year. So
Yeah.
yeah, I you got to see what the kid has. I get what Theismann is saying. No, don't play him because you'll get him hurt, and then you roll into the season without your what we're all hoping is our superstar quarterback. But you know what? You got to take calculated risk.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah. Fair enough. I, would you agree? I kind of touched on this earlier. Would you agree you would have him play less than 10 drives total between all 3 games?
between all 3 games,
Like 2, 2, and 3, or 3, 3, and 4.
honestly, my goal for Jayden,
Mm-hmm.
we have him go out there, and I know I said to see what he can do, and you can, but my goal is maybe have him come off like you said, maybe after 2, 2, and 3 drives, or what you do is see if he can score, see if he can get the team a field goal or a touchdown, and then maybe take him off after. Unless it's the first drive and they score, then you put him out there for one more drive.
Right.
But if not, don't take him off till he has proven that he can take the team down the field and
Mm-hmm.
score. So that's my take on that.
Fair. Fair. I like that. I like that. Well, I think that just about covers it. Um, Again, I don't think he'll play significant snaps, but I think he will play a good amount, and I think he should play, but I wouldn't say have him play a whole game or have him play a whole half. Maybe have him play 2 quarters combined between the 3 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Do I think we'll get Brandon Aiyuk? Probably. I'm gonna ask y'all for a prediction. If not the Commanders, what would be your final prediction of where Brandon goes, or does he stay for final prediction, Chris?
If Washington does not get him, it will be Pittsburgh.
Okay. Fair. Justin, what about you?
Well, part of me thinks if we don't get him, Niners might keep him because they have Super Bowl roster.
Yeah,
Heck with it, right? Unless something happens where their season starts going crappy. But I do think it's probably gonna be. I'm thinking the Bills. Josh Allen, Aiyuk might be a nasty duo, and Niners are gonna want him out of the NFC, so
yeah,
they don't have to deal with seeing him in the playoffs.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. Well, guys, that's going to just about cover it. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on the channel, here on BIB. Like, subscribe, hit that post notification bell to know every time that we upload. Head over to Instagram and TikTok at Ballin and Burgundy Podcast, and on Twitter at BIB Podcast 22. We're going to have immediate reactions and stories and posts if and whenever this happens, and more news will be coming on the way. Instagram and Twitter will be those places to go. I think we can all agree we're probably tired of the Aiyuk drama, but it's the biggest story right now for the Commanders is do we or do we not? Would you all agree?
Yeah.
100%.
Yep. Guys, like I said, like and subscribe. Let's see where this Aiyuk situation goes. Raise hail. Don't forget to stay balling. We'll see y'all out there.